Well, I've been asked to do a video about how I like my Vevor model CJ210A lathe. It's an 8x14 lathe. In my previous video, I told you how they didn't send me the lathe that I had ordered, and I've heard comments from other people that they're still doing the same thing. So again, beware, make sure of what you're getting. But it's not that bad a lathe, but again, it's kind of a work in progress. First thing I did when I first got the lathe is I replaced the little cheap handles for the slides with aluminum ones. They just work better. They just do. Or maybe it's just a personal choice. I don't know. Second thing I did is I immediately put a 4-jaw chuck on there, because the 3-jaw chuck was not real accurate, and I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. I might regrind the jaws. I might order a better 3-jaw chuck, but actually I'm getting so used to using a 4-jaw chuck and getting it lined up that I really don't have a problem. And what I did, if I can show you here, is I just mounted my depth gauge, feeler gauge, whatever you want to call it, on a tool holder, so I can just pop it in the tool post and set it up, and it just takes a few seconds. Speaking of which, the tool post is one of the things I did right away. The tool post that comes with it is one of these devils, and it doesn't work all that bad. It's got its uses. Get this out of the way. There we go. It's got its uses, and with the cutters, the carbide brazed cutters that they sent with the tool, or with the machine, excuse me, actually works pretty good. These pretty much line up right away with this tool post. Next thing I did, okay, hold on a second, let's back up. Everybody says, I want to see the lathe turning. Okay, let's do it. Turn it on. Get this lined up. This is a 10/1000ths cut. $15,000. 20 thousandths. Gonna have to speed it up a little bit. I only cut that far in because I also put a carriage stop, an adjustable carriage stop on it. And I forgot to reset it. Along with another thing a person will find very handy is a shield that travels with the carriage. It's just a piece of plastic I had sitting around. Another thing I did is I put a carriage clamp in, which was fairly simple to do. Basically just a piece of steel and a screw. Drill a hole through there. Make sure it doesn't interfere with the adjustments for the gib on the slide. And another thing I did is I turned out a couple of knurled round nuts, whatever you want to call them, rather than having to unbolt a nut, unscrew a nut every time with a wrench. I also, as seen in one of my other videos, put oil or grease ports in. Something that's very good to have because those gears in there don't get any lubrication. And that was the main complaint I had about this lathe, that when I ordered it, the speed range change was supposed to be accomplished with belts in the back, belts and pulleys, and it came with the gears in the headstock, and they were very noisy. I think the major change I've made is in the tailstock. I replaced the cheap, not very well made set screws for the tailstock with a couple of bolts. Metric, of course. Another thing I did, and I'll remove this tailstock so you can see it. Another thing I did is I added a piece right here that fits in between the rails on the bed. And the second thing I did is I replaced the inexpensive thin clamping piece with a piece of 1/4 inch tempered steel. Very simple operation, but something that had to be done because when it went on there and when I tried to move it or adjust it, it was always very sloppy fit on there. Now when I slide it back and forth, it doesn't flop all over the place. And when I clamp it, it feels much more rigid. That thin piece that they had on there, it evidently bowed or deflected or something, and it just did not feel right. So I made that a little beefier. Other than that, I'm getting to like this lathe. It kind of grows on you. And once I aligned everything, I made myself an alignment bar for the tailstock. And I still don't like how you have to adjust the tailstock by taking it off and loosening up that screw underneath. But all in all, it's a pretty good lathe. So if you're thinking about buying a lathe, this one is in the $700 range. I got it for about $550 after haggling with the company. So I think for $550, it's a pretty darn good lathe. So 4 months after purchasing it, yes, I'm satisfied with it. I wouldn't say I'm extremely happy. I'm not jumping up and down and shouting it to the world, but I'm satisfied with it. It's doing a pretty darn good job. So it's up to you. If you don't know what lathe to buy, you could do worse than this. You all have yourself a good day. And I hope this video helps anybody, somebody. Well, maybe nobody, who knows.